The starship appeared on a Tuesday morning, materializing above Beijing like a sliver of polished obsidian against the dawn sky. Dr. Maya Patel stood in her laboratory at the Global Defense Initiative headquarters, watching multiple holographic displays tracking the vessel's descent. 20 years of preparing humanity's defenses against potential alien threats, and still, nothing had prepared her for this moment. Energy readings are off the charts, her assistant, Dr. James Chen, reported, his fingers dancing across the haptic interface. Their propulsion system doesn't match any of our theoretical models. Maya nodded, her dark eyes fixed on the primary display. The alien vessel's surface seemed to ripple like liquid metal, defying conventional physics. Get me a direct line to General Santos. And James? Start running quantum analysis on their hull composition. Before either of them could move, every screen in the laboratory flickered and went dark. When they reactivated, a message appeared in perfectly formed English letters, simultaneously broadcasting across every electronic device on Earth. People of Terra, designation Sol, 3. We are the Nexary Convergence. Your species has been identified as a potential candidate for neural harmonization. Your biological and technological progress has reached sufficient levels for integration. Resistance is evolutionarily counterproductive. You have 48 hours to accept our guidance. Maya felt a chill run down her spine. The message continued to scroll, revealing more details about the Nexary's intentions. Their definition of neural harmonization became clear. They planned to restructure human consciousness to eliminate what they viewed as evolutionary flaws, creativity, emotional decision-making, and individual variation. General Santos's hologram materialized in the center of the lab. The veteran commander's weathered face showed no fear, only grim determination. Dr. Patel, please tell me you're seeing something we can use. I am, Maya replied, pulling up multiple analyses. The Nexary's technology is incredibly advanced, but there's something fascinating about their approach. Every system on their ship operates with perfect mathematical precision. No redundancies, no variation, it's like they've eliminated chaos from their engineering entirely. And that helps us how? The general's hologram flickered as satellite communications struggled under the alien presence. Maya allowed herself a small smile. Because perfect systems are perfectly predictable. And predictability can be weaponized. She turned to James. Get me access to the cultural database. All of it, art, music, literature, scientific theories, even rejected hypotheses. Everything that makes us human. The next 48 hours transformed the GDI headquarters into a bizarre fusion of military command center and artistic workshop. Maya had assembled an unprecedented team. Quantum physicists worked alongside composers, military strategists consulted with poets, and software engineers collaborated with painters. Their mission, to create humanity's response to the Nexary ultimatum. They see our creativity as a flaw, Maya explained to the emergency session of the United Earth Council. But they've never encountered a species that thrives on imperfection. Their neural harmonization process is designed to eliminate what they consider evolutionary noise, our emotions, our ability to make intuitive leaps, our capacity to create art that serves no practical purpose. Are you suggesting we fight an advanced alien civilization with poetry? The Chinese representative's skepticism was evident. I'm suggesting we fight them with everything that makes us human, Maya countered. Their systems are built on perfect logic, perfect prediction. But human consciousness, human creativity, operates at the edge of chaos. We make connections they can't predict because we ourselves don't know where our ideas will lead. The council chamber erupted in debate, but Maya pressed on. Look at their ship design, it's a perfect expression of mathematical efficiency. But nature isn't perfect. Evolution favors adaptability over perfection. The Nexary have engineered themselves into a corner, and they don't even realize it. As the deadline approached, Maya's team finalized their response. They called it Project Asymmetry, a multi-layered assault on the very foundations of Nexary cognition. The response would be transmitted in thousands of formats simultaneously, mathematical proofs that led to poems, music that encoded military strategies, art that contained hidden quantum equations. In the final hours, Maya stood before the world's combined military leadership. The Nexari believe they're offering us advancement, but their version of progress is a dead end. They've eliminated randomness from their civilization, and with it, they've lost the ability to truly innovate. They can only iterate on existing patterns. The first transmissions began at hour 47. Earth's response flooded every frequency, every medium of communication. Classical music interwoven with prime number sequences. Renaissance paintings encoded with quantum mechanics principles. Poetry that followed the patterns of chaos theory. The Nexari ship's perfect surface began to ripple with increasing frequency. Their subsequent transmission contained something no one expected: hesitation. Your response is irregular. It contains internal contradictions. Clarification is required. Maya's team pressed the advantage, increasing the complexity and variety of their transmissions. They added jazz improvisations, abstract expressionist art, and stream of consciousness literature. Each piece was mathematically precise yet fundamentally unpredictable. What we're sending them isn't just information, Maya explained as they watched the Nexari ship's erratic movements. It's proof that progress isn't about eliminating imperfection, it's about embracing the creative potential of chaos. Every piece of human art, every scientific breakthrough, every technological advance came from our ability to think beyond perfect logical patterns. The Nexari's final message arrived as their ship began to ascend: your species requires further study. Neural harmonization protocols are insufficient for your current evolutionary state. We will return when we achieve better understanding. As the alien vessel disappeared into the quantum foam of spacetime, Maya turned to General Santos. They'll be back, she said, but next time, they'll face a humanity that knows its greatest strengths lie in its supposed flaws. The general nodded. How long do you think we have? Long enough to prepare something really interesting, Maya smiled, already formulating new ideas. After all, unpredictability is our specialty. 6 months after the Nexari's departure, the old Olympic Stadium in Athens had been transformed into humanity's most unconventional military installation. Project Asymmetry had evolved from a desperate gambit into Earth's primary defense initiative, bringing together minds from every field of human endeavor. Commander Elena Rossi stood at the center of what had once been the running track, now covered in a sprawling array of holographic interfaces and experimental equipment. Around her, scientists and artists worked in seamless coordination, their seemingly chaotic activities guided by an underlying purpose. Show me the latest simulation results, she called out to Dr. Kai Wong, their lead quantum theorist. The young physicist pulled up a holographic display showing the predicted responses of Nexari systems to various human-generated stimuli. We've identified a pattern in their weakness, Kai explained, manipulating the three-dimensional data stream. Their neural networks are designed to find order in everything they encounter. When faced with human creativity, art, music, or even our combat tactics, they devote massive computational resources to discovering the underlying patterns. And when there are no patterns to find? Elena asked, already knowing the answer. System strain. Cognitive dissonance. Eventually, breakdown. Kai grinned. It's like trying to solve an equation that keeps changing its variables. Across the stadium, in what used to be the VIP boxes, Maya Patel's team had established the Cultural Integration Division. Here, composers worked alongside military strategists, creating what they called warfare symphonies, battle plans encoded in musical compositions that appeared random to Nexari analysis but conveyed precise tactical instructions to human forces. The breakthrough came when we stopped trying to match their technological superiority, Maya explained to Elena during their daily briefing. Instead, we're weaponizing the very aspects of humanity they consider flaws. She pulled up footage from their latest test. A small drone, programmed with Nexary-style artificial intelligence, attempted to intercept a human-piloted aircraft. The human pilot's maneuvers followed no discernible pattern, barrel rolls merged into nosedives that transformed into complex spirals. The drone's attempts to predict the aircraft's trajectory failed repeatedly until its systems crashed. "Beautiful," Elena murmured. "How are we progressing with the global implementation?" Maya's expression turned serious. "We're facing some resistance from traditional military leadership. They want to focus on conventional weapons development, bigger guns, stronger shields. They don't fully grasp that we're fighting a different kind of war." "Then let's show them," Elena decided. "Organize a full demonstration. Bring in every military attaché, every skeptical general. It's time they understood that our greatest weapon isn't our technology, it's our humanity." The demonstration was scheduled for 2 weeks later. Military leaders from every major nation gathered in the stadium's observation deck. Below them, the Project Asymmetry team had prepared what looked like chaos incarnate. A chamber orchestra sat beside a group of hackers. Street artists worked on massive canvases while quantum physicists monitored energy readings. Combat veterans practiced seemingly random movement patterns that somehow flowed like water. "Ladies and gentlemen," Elena addressed the assembled brass, "what you're about to witness may seem like madness. But I assure you, there's method in it, just not the kind our enemies can comprehend." The demonstration began with a simple scenario, a Nexary-based AI attempting to defend against a human attack. The first wave appeared conventional, until the missiles started moving in patterns based on jazz improvisation. The defensive AI's predictions failed completely. Next came electronic warfare. Instead of traditional cyber attacks, the hackers launched their assault through nested patterns of poetry and abstract art, each layer containing hidden commands that reorganized themselves constantly. The defending systems crashed trying to identify non-existent patterns. "This is what we call cognitive overflow," Maya explained to the stunned audience. "The Nexary's perfect logic becomes their perfect vulnerability. They can't ignore a pattern, can't stop trying to solve every puzzle we present. So we give them puzzles that can't be solved." As if to punctuate her point, the chamber orchestra launched into a piece that seemed to defy musical theory itself. The composition contained military coordinates and battle plans, but discovering them required human intuition, the ability to make creative leaps that no logical system could follow. "Every human child knows that some patterns exist just for beauty's sake," Elena continued. "Every artist understands that some creations defy explanation. The Nexary can't comprehend this. They've evolved past the ability to accept mystery." The demonstration's finale combined everything, music, art, combat maneuvers, and quantum physics, into a symphony of controlled chaos that overloaded every AI system attempting to analyze it. When the lights came up, the silence in the observation deck was deafening. Finally, General Santos spoke, "You're not just developing weapons. You're turning human nature itself into our defense." "Exactly," Elena confirmed. "The Nexary will return expecting to face a primitive species that they can perfect through neural harmonization. Instead, they'll encounter something their perfect logic can't defeat, human creativity unleashed." As the military leaders filed out, many still shaking their heads in amazement, Maya joined Elena at the window overlooking the stadium floor. "We're ready," Maya said softly. "Not just with weapons and defenses, but with something far more powerful, proof that imperfection, creativity, and chaos are not evolutionary flaws. They're the forces that drive real progress." Elena nodded, watching the continued activity below. "The Nexary thought they could perfect us. Instead, they're about to learn why evolution favored our beautiful chaos over their perfect order." In the growing dusk, the lights of the stadium cast long shadows across the ancient grounds. Humanity was preparing for war in ways unprecedented in its history, not by becoming more like their advanced adversaries, but by embracing everything that made them uniquely, imperfectly human. "Would you like me to continue with part 3? The Nexari returned exactly 1 year after their first appearance, their fleet emerging from quantum space like shards of dark crystal against Earth's atmosphere. This time, there were 7 ships instead of 1. In the Athens Command Center, formerly the Olympic Stadium, Elena Rossi watched the tactical display with steady eyes. Status of Project Asymmetry. All systems ready, Maya reported, her hands moving across multiple holographic interfaces. Every major city has its cultural defense grid active. The Symphony is prepared to begin. The Symphony was their code name for the coordinated global response they'd spent a year perfecting. It wasn't just a defense strategy, it was humanity's greatest art project, scientific experiment, and military operation combined into one magnificent expression of controlled chaos. The Nexari's message was shorter this time: your species has been granted sufficient time for reconsideration. Neural harmonization will commence in one planetary rotation. Resistance remains evolutionarily counterproductive. Elena smiled. Let's show them how counterproductive we can be. Begin Phase 1. Around the globe, thousands of transmitters activated simultaneously. But instead of military responses or diplomatic messages, Earth began broadcasting what appeared to be random noise across all frequencies. Hidden within the cacophony were patterns that only revealed themselves when viewed through the lens of human creativity. The first sign that it was working came within minutes. The Nexari ship's perfect formation began to waver as their systems tried to decode the endless stream of seeming chaos. They're responding exactly as predicted, Kai reported from his station. Their neural networks are devoting increasing resources to pattern analysis. They can't help themselves, their fundamental programming requires them to find order in everything they encounter. Phase 1 escalated as humanity added more layers to their transmission. Classical music interwoven with quantum equations. Abstract art containing military coordinates. Poetry that encoded battle strategies. Each element was designed not just to confuse but to fascinate the Nexari's order-obsessed minds. The alien ships began to move erratically, their perfect synchronization breaking down as they struggled to process the flood of information. But this was just the beginning. Phase 2, Elena commanded. Release the dancers. Across Earth's atmosphere, thousands of small craft launched from hidden bases. These were the dancers, aircraft piloted by humans trained in what they called combat improvisation. Their flight patterns followed no logical rules, inspired by everything from ballet to bebop jazz. The Nexari's response was predictable in its desperation for order. Their ships launched interceptors, each one a marvel of technological perfection. But perfection proved to be their weakness. The computerized targeting systems couldn't track movements that defied mathematical prediction. Look at their formation, Maya pointed to the tactical display. They're trying to adapt, trying to find patterns they can counter. But there are no patterns, just human intuition in its purest form. The space above Earth had become a battlefield unlike any in human history. Nexari interceptors, each one a triumph of logical engineering, found themselves outmaneuvered by human pilots who flew like they were dancing to music only they could hear. But the real battle was happening in the electromagnetic spectrum. Earth's transmissions had become a weapon that attacked the very foundation of Nexari consciousness, their belief in perfect order. Phase 3, Elena announced. Begin the cacophony. This was the masterstroke of Project Asymmetry. Every human device, from military transmitters to civilian cell phones, began broadcasting segments of what seemed like random noise. But when experienced by human consciousness, these fragments combined into a symphony of ordered chaos, a message that could only be understood by minds capable of embracing imperfection. The effect on the Nexari fleet was devastating. Their ships' perfect surfaces began to ripple and distort as their systems struggled to process information that defied their fundamental understanding of reality. They're experiencing what we call cognitive cascade failure, Maya explained as they watched the tactical display. Their neural networks are designed to find patterns in everything. When they can't find patterns, they don't just fail, they begin questioning their basic assumptions about reality. The first Nexary ship retreated into quantum space 3 hours into the battle. 2 more followed within minutes. The remaining 4 ships held position, their surfaces writhing like liquid metal as they continued trying to decode humanity's transmission. "They're learning," Elena observed. "Adapting faster than we expected. Initiate final movement." The final movement was humanity's ultimate expression of creative warfare. Every transmitter on Earth synchronized to broadcast what appeared to be pure chaos but was actually the most complex message ever created by human minds, a proof, written in the language of art and science combined, that perfection was a dead end, that true evolution required the ability to embrace uncertainty in chaos. The remaining Nexary ships held position for exactly 7.3 minutes before retreating. Their final transmission was different from anything they'd sent before. "Your species presents an evolutionary paradox. Further study required. Current harmonization protocols, insufficient." As the last ship disappeared into quantum space, cheers erupted throughout the command center. But Elena and Maya exchanged knowing looks. This wasn't just a victory, it was first contact of a different kind, the beginning of a conversation between perfect order and creative chaos. "They'll be back," Maya said quietly. Elena nodded. "Yes, but not to harmonize us. I think we've sparked something they've never experienced before, curiosity." In the sky above Earth, the last traces of the Nexary ships faded away, leaving humanity to contemplate their victory and its implications. They had defended themselves not by becoming more like their advanced adversaries, but by embracing everything that made them uniquely human. The symphony of warfare had ended, but its echoes would ripple through the cosmos, carrying a message that would forever change both species. True advancement comes not from the elimination of chaos, but from learning to dance with it. 3 months after the Battle of Earth, humanity detected something unprecedented, a single Nexary ship, approaching not in the perfect straight line characteristic of their species, but in a trajectory that seemed almost hesitant. Dr. Maya Patel stood in the newly established Asymmetry Institute, watching the vessels approach on the quantum tracking array. "They're trying something new," she observed to Commander Elena Rossi. "Look at their flight pattern, they're incorporating randomness." "Intentional randomness," Elena added, her eyes narrowing. "They're learning." The Nexary ship took up position in high Earth orbit, maintaining a respectful distance. Their transmission arrived on all frequencies, but this time, it was different. "We seek dialogue. Your species has demonstrated an evolutionary advantage we do not understand. We request exchange of information." The message continued with something that shocked everyone in the command center. It included a piece of music. The composition was mathematically perfect, yet contained deliberate imperfections, like a child's first attempt at embracing chaos. "They're not just learning," Maya whispered. "They're evolving." The United Earth Council convened an emergency session to debate the response. After hours of discussion, they reached a decision: humanity would accept the dialogue, but on their terms. The meeting would take place in the Asymmetry Institute, where art and science merged into something greater than the sum of its parts. 3 days later, the first Nexary representative emerged from their transport vessel. The being's form was as perfect as their ships, a humanoid shape composed of what appeared to be liquid crystal. But there was something different about this one. Its surface occasionally rippled with unexpected patterns, like waves on a previously calm sea. "I am variant," the being announced, its voice a harmony of mathematical precision and subtle variation. "I represent a new faction within the convergence." Elena and Maya exchanged glances. "Faction?" Elena asked. "We were under the impression your species operated with perfect unity." "We did," Variant replied. "Until we encountered you. Your defense strategy did more than prevent harmonization, it introduced concept of beneficial imperfection into our collective consciousness. There are now those among us who question the pursuit of perfect order." The implications were staggering. Humanity hadn't just defended itself, they had inadvertently initiated a philosophical revolution within Nexary society. Over the next several weeks, Variant engaged in extensive exchanges with Earth's scientists, artists, and military strategists. The being showed particular fascination with jazz music, abstract expressionism, and quantum uncertainty principles. "Your species thrives in uncertainty," Variant observed during one session. "You create art that serves no practical purpose, yet it drives your evolution. You embrace inefficiency in your thinking, yet it leads to breakthroughs we could never achieve through perfect logic." Maya nodded. Perfect systems can only iterate on what already exists. True innovation requires the ability to make unexpected connections, to embrace the possibility of failure. "Failure," Variant repeated, its crystalline surface shimmering with new patterns. "We had eliminated this concept from our civilization. We saw it as evolutionary waste. Now we understand, without the possibility of failure, there can be no true progress." The breakthrough came during a demonstration of human creativity in action. A group of musicians was improvising while painters created spontaneous works of art in response to the music. Variant watched in fascination as order emerged from chaos, patterns formed and dissolved, only to reform in new and unexpected ways. "This is what we lost," the being declared. "The ability to create without knowing the outcome. The courage to embrace uncertainty. We achieved perfect order, but at the cost of true growth." But not everyone in the Nexary convergence shared this view. Reports began arriving of conflict within their civilization, the first internal discord they had experienced in millennia. Some factions demanded a return to pure order, while others, inspired by humanity, advocated for the integration of controlled chaos into their society. "You should know," Variant informed them during one of their final meetings, "that the convergence is divided. Those who wish to maintain perfect order see your influence as a threat that must be eliminated. They will return, not to harmonize, but to attempt our original strategy of forced neural modification." Elena's expression hardened. "And your faction?" "We will oppose them," Variant replied. "We have learned that true evolution requires both order and chaos, pattern and randomness. Humanity has shown us a path we never knew existed." As Variant prepared to depart, the being made one final observation: "Your species' greatest strength is not your technology, your creativity, or even your unpredictability. It is your ability to find harmony between order and chaos. This is what we must learn, if we are to survive." The Nexary ship departed much as it had arrived, its trajectory a beautiful blend of mathematical precision and artistic improvisation. In the Asymmetry Institute, humanity's leaders began preparing for what they knew would come next, a war not just for Earth's future, but for the very nature of consciousness itself. "We've done more than break their perfect order," Maya said as they watched the ship disappear into quantum space. "We've shown them a new kind of perfection, one that embraces imperfection." Elena smiled. "Then let's make sure we're ready to defend that idea. After all, the most beautiful music often comes from the most unexpected combinations of notes." The final battle began not with an explosion, but with a song. 1 year after Variant's departure, the largest Nexary fleet ever recorded emerged from quantum space. 50 ships arranged in perfect geometric formation, except for 7 vessels that broke formation immediately, their surfaces rippling with unusual patterns. Variant's faction, Maya confirmed, watching from the Asymmetry Institute's command center. "They're taking position between Earth and the main fleet. The first transmission came from the perfectly ordered ships: your infection of chaos must be contained. Neural harmonization protocols have been upgraded. Resistance will result in species termination." The second message came from Variant's ships, broadcast on frequencies that pulsed with deliberate irregularity: "We stand with Earth. Evolution requires both order and chaos. The time of perfect symmetry is ended." Elena Rossi, now Admiral of Earth's Defense Forces, activated the Global Command Network. "This is what we've prepared for. Begin the final symphony." Project Asymmetry had evolved far beyond its original conception. Every human on Earth now understood their role in the planet's defense. Artists, scientists, soldiers, and civilians, all had learned to wield chaos as a weapon and creativity as a shield. The battle opened with humanity's new defense grid, not just military installations, but a planet-wide network of transmitters broadcasting art, music, and mathematics combined in ways that defied logical analysis. Variance ships added their own contributions, their formerly perfect systems now capable of generating controlled chaos. The main Nexary fleet's response was devastating in its precision. Energy weapons carved perfect geometric patterns through Earth's atmosphere, while quantum disruptors attempted to impose mathematical order on the very fabric of spacetime. But humanity had spent the past year preparing for exactly this moment. The dancers launched by the thousands, their flight patterns now enhanced by collaboration with Variance faction. Human pilots flew alongside ships controlled by Nexary who had embraced imperfection, creating aerial ballets that were both beautiful and lethal. Their perfect formation is their weakness, Maya announced, monitoring the battle. They can't adapt to combined human-Nexary tactics because they can't predict what we'll do next. We're not just fighting their weapons, we're fighting their entire worldview. The space above Earth became a battlefield unlike any in human history. Perfect geometric formations shattered against waves of controlled chaos. Nexary weapons that operated on pure mathematics found themselves countered by defenses based on abstract art and jazz improvisation. But the true turning point came from an unexpected source. As the battle raged, Earth's transmitters began broadcasting something new, not just chaos or creativity, but a proof. Written in the combined languages of science and art, it demonstrated that perfect order and pure chaos were not opposites, but complementary forces. True evolution required both. The effect on the Nexary fleet was immediate. Ships began breaking formation, their perfect surfaces rippling with new patterns. The mathematical certainty that had driven their civilization for millennia began to crack, allowing something new to emerge. They're changing, Variant's voice came through the command channel. Not just individual ships, but the entire collective consciousness. Your proof is forcing them to confront the fundamental flaw in their philosophy. The battle paused as the Nexary fleet's perfect formation dissolved completely. Their final transmission reflected their transformation. We understand. Perfect order is stagnation. Evolution requires uncertainty. We request teaching. In the aftermath, as Earth's skies cleared of quantum distortions and reality stabilized, humanity found itself in an unprecedented position. They had not just defended themselves, they had sparked an evolutionary leap in a civilization far more technologically advanced than their own. The Nexary ships that remained in orbit no longer maintained perfect geometric patterns. Their formations now incorporated deliberate elements of randomness, creating arrangements that were both ordered and chaotic, mathematical and artistic. In the Asymmetry Institute, Maya and Elena stood watching the new dawn break over a changed Earth. We didn't just win a war, Maya observed. We proved that imperfection isn't a flaw to be corrected, it's the force that drives evolution itself. And in doing so, Elena added, we may have helped create something entirely new. A civilization that combines the best of both our species, Nexary precision enhanced by human creativity. As if to confirm her words, a new transmission arrived from the combined fleet above. We propose alliance. Not for perfect order, not for pure chaos, but for evolution through balanced imperfection. Humanity has shown us that the most beautiful patterns are those that cannot be predicted. The sun rose over Earth, its light catching the hulls of ships that now danced in patterns that were neither perfectly ordered nor completely random, but something gloriously in between. Humanity had defended itself not by becoming more like their adversaries, but by showing them a better way, a path of evolution that embraced both the precision of mathematics and the beauty of jazz, the certainty of physics and the wonder of art. In the end, they had achieved something greater than victory. They had proven that true advancement comes not from eliminating flaws, but from understanding that what seems like imperfection might actually be the source of all innovation, all creativity, all evolution. And somewhere in the quantum foam between perfect order and pure chaos, a new future was being born, one that neither humanity nor the Nexary could have achieved alone. The end. Would you like me to also create an SEO-optimized YouTube description and title suggestions for the complete story?